Welcome to Rewatch-and-Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. And today's episode is Hercules, The Legendary Journeys, Season 1, Episode 5, Ares. Episode in a nutshell is a brief reminder of what happens in the episode. So, in this episode, it starts with this misty scene, and we see Hercules' legs, and then he arrives at a dying soldier who, once he introduces himself, says, "Oh, I've heard of you. You're a good guy. Can you take my sword and this letter to my wife and child back at my hometown?" And Hercules, being the good guy, says, "Of course, I'll do that for you." So he then goes to the soldier Gregory's hometown where he presents the sword and letter to his wife, who at first seems a little cold because she's like, he's been off fighting wars for like the last 10 years, barely know the guy anymore. But she takes it and then offers hospitality to Hercules, who then goes in and realizes there's a hole in the roof. So he's like, you know what? Since it's just you and your son, I'm going to fix your roof for you. And then he goes over to the blacksmith to get some nails, and the blacksmith is like, "Oh no, I don't have any nails," after flirting with him and challenging him to an arm wrestle match. She doesn't have nails, so she's like, my kind of like a little brother who always helps me out around the shop didn't come in today and obviously hasn't replaced the nails, so, it's gonna be a wait." And Hercules then um, realizes that the son of Gregory is friends with Atalanta, who is the blacksmith's um, younger brother type person that works for her. And so he offers to go and find them. We see the boys in the woods, and they are approached by Aurelius, who basically is like, "I see you two are fantasizing about being warriors. Here's some clubs, kill each other, and, prove that you're warriors." And Titus, after they start fighting a little bit, kind of balks and is like, "I'm not like a killer. Even if he fantasizes about being, a soldier doing good and defending people, things like that, he's not cold-blooded." So he runs away, and we see his friend then taken to basically base camp, where it is revealed that there is a whole army of little boys who are following Aurelius and worshiping Ares, and the friend is branded as one of them. And basically, Titus then is found by Hercules, brought back to the village, and the friend then is like, "I want my friend to be a part of this," so he goes to find him. Meanwhile, the boys and Aurelius go and kill a bunch of innocent merchants to feed Ares blood, and then Titus is led back to Aurelius. Ares knows Hercules is in town, so he tells Aurelius about this and tells him to use the boy. So Aurelius lies to Titus that Hercules was the one to kill his dad, and so he then is like, Hercules is evil, and gets branded himself as well. They then lure Hercules into a trap and think they killed him by a rock fall, but he is found by Atalanta and the mother and decides to go and save these boys and, of course, fight Ares. He first goes to Hera's temple, where he sees a sacrifice has been made in the name of Ares. Then he goes to where he and Titus had kind of stumbled upon their base camp while they were out, while they were looking for his friend earlier. And basically on the way, Atalanta is possessed by Ares, and she had been possessed by Ares in order to make swords for the child soldiers, and then she gets possessed again to fight Hercules, who does end up knocking her out of it by throwing her into the water. And then they arrive all the boys come out with Aurelius. Aurelius asks Ares for help. Ares then makes plants grow around them, creating like a wooden cage around the mother, Aurelius and not Aurelius, Hercules and Atalanta. And they try to talk the boys down. Once they've talked the boys down, Hercules then bursts out of this wooden cage, and Aurelius is, of course, scared of Hercules because he's so much stronger than him. So he begs Ares for help. Ares comes out as like a weird monster thing, and Aurelius is like, haha, we're gonna kill you, I'm so protected. And then Ares is like, I'm not protecting you, and kills Aurelius before attacking Hercules. And as Hercules is fighting Ares, Titus then gives him his father's sword, which has been soaked in Ares' blood, which is poisonous. And Hercules is able to defeat the monster version of Ares before there is a happy ending and they return to town where everybody heals and the boys are welcomed back by their respective mother figures, or in the case of Atalanta, big sister figure, and everybody's happy in the end. So now that we've been reminded about what happened in the episode, we'll now rank the episode. As always, we'll rank first on the mostly objective ranking list, followed by the personal ranking list. All right, so we're going to start on our mostly objective rank values with our single episode supporting character introductions. We had Titus, who was the son of Gregory, then Zimenos was the friend's name that I kept forgetting. And then Aurelius is, of course, the leader of the Wild Boys. And they're worth 1 point each, bringing us up to 3. Then we have +2 for our multi-episode supporting character introduction. And that, of course, is Atalanta, who is the blacksmith, and she does recur. She's in 3 episodes total. They are across different seasons, but because it's only 3 episodes, I can't really consider her a multi-season supporting character. She's just not in enough episodes, so I chose multi-episode instead. And that is 2 points, bringing us to 5. Then there was, again, some flirting between Atalanta and Hercules, starting with the arm wrestle where Hercules loses because he's too busy staring at her chest area, and he stares at her back area several times as well. And again, they flirt back and forth every so often, and then at the end of the episode they do share a kiss. So I did put that under supporting relationship development, though it's not really a relationship because I don't think that it continues past this episode, but because it ended in an actual kiss, I decided to give it the points. So that's another 2 points, bringing us to 7 total. And then we have our multi-season supporting character introduction, which is Ares, god of war. And he, of course, shows off all of his various powers that he has in this episode, like being able to possess people, grow tree branch cages. He basically, until he shows up in his weird monster form, is basically a pool of red liquid that we are meant to believe is blood, though it seems pretty thin. That is surrounded by a bunch of bones and skulls and swords and stuff, which is actually really cool looking. And sometimes he shows up as a skull on the moon, which is fairly impressive. But that brings us to 10 points in the positive points category. However, there were some negatives. So, first negative is a continuity error, and this has to do with Ares. Basically, in this episode, he's weird blood pool and his physical form is this weird monstery thing. However, next and every other time that he appears after that in both this series and its companion series Xena in the same franchise, he's played by Kevin Smith. who is an awesome Ares. And so basically recast, redone, revitalized, pretty much everything we see of Ares in this episode is moot point because it's going to evolve the next time, and that'll be the new Ares going forward. And then -2 points for the negative messaging or behaviors, and this has to do with the brainwashing of child soldiers. Obviously, child soldiers not a good thing, never will be. I don't even think I need to explain any more than that. It is -2 points, 100%. And the fact that these child soldiers are also betraying people is also pretty terrible. And even Aurelius, who is the leader, clearly older, but even so, still looks pretty young, like maybe like young teen or late teen versus the children who are seem to be like preteen. So it is like they're all young. And they're following Ares, who in the end betrays them all, like he even kills Aurelius. So basically, bad vibes all around on those, which leaves us with a 4 out of 10 for this episode. And that brings our mostly objective ranking so far to In First, The Wrong Path, The Road to Caledon. This episode, Ares comes in third, followed by The Festival of Dionysus, and then Eye of the Beholder. My personal ranking for this episode is better than the objective, but not by much. So obviously, child soldier idea kind of gave like Lost Boys from Peter Pan. So I actually did not mind that that existed. I just didn't like that they actually show them killing people. Like if they were just running in the woods and like fantasizing about being soldiers, that would have been one thing. But the fact that they actually have them go and kill a bunch of traders or merchants who are on their way just to sell their goods and such, it made me uncomfortable. And then Atalanta, not a bad character. I liked her, but oh my goodness, the outfit she was wearing literally left very, 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 very little to the imagination. Also made me a little bit uncomfortable. So wasn't necessarily comfortable. I do think that, Hercules was a good guy to bring this sword and letter back to this hometown, and then by getting to the town, he then comes up against Ares, and if he hadn't found that dying soldier and agreed to bring the letter home, who knows what would have happened with Aurelius and the Lost Boys, or Wild Boys as they were called in this one. I did enjoy the episode. I thought it was engaging. I thought it was fun in a way, but there was also a lot of discomfort in watching just because of some of the themes. But the one thing I do love about this series, though, is that even though it puts the uncomfortable themes in there, it usually has a moral lesson to, you know, everything turns out right in the end. These people going down a bad path end up on the right path, making the right choices, and we see that, goodness prevails, and I love that. And I think that to have those type of moral lessons, you have to obviously have the bad behavior shown beforehand. It sucks on the objective list because that usually means that it gets a lower score than typical because it's showing the negative messaging or behaviors before resolving them, but I do love that they do resolve them. I don't see why. Like we've had him flirting with women before. We've had other female characters. Um I don't know why she was wearing so little, like so little. It was shocking. And that is why I gave it a 6 out of 10 because she's in a lot of the scenes wearing very, very little and it was very uncomfortable. But the actual episode, storyline, everything like that was pretty good. Even that little bit of you knew Hercules wasn't going to die being covered in rocks, but his hand was sticking out and he didn't really get move or get himself out of it. It ended up being when he was found that he ended up being able to get out. So even then they built a little bit of tension in there. Um, So anyways, with my personal ranking, it being a 6 out of 10, I have Eye of the Beholder in first, Festival of Dionysus in second. This episode, Aries, comes in third for me as well. We have The Wrong Path in fourth, and then Road to Caledon in fifth. And the series ranking, mostly objective ranking, has season 1 with 26 out of 130 so far, and personal side has a score of 30 out of 130 so far. But with that, we have now rewatched and ranked Hercules: Legendary Journeys Season 1, Episode 5. Aries, like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.